Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars, come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risked their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has when you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
We're achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
And happy 30. Jesus, can't even talk. Happy Thursday night. Welcome in KLM Radio. Hopefully you guys are hanging out from disasters in the making. If not, where have you been? You missed an awesome show. But we're here. We're live. I'm one half of the crew, Mr. Rick Robinson. She's the other half, Miss Jen Homestead. Don't forget, coming up after us as well. We're going to go over to our friends over at SHR Media and hang out in BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. But for now, you've got me, Rick, and her, Jen, and I almost said it backwards again. Good evening for you.
We should just do it now. We accidentally do it all the time.
Nice. Oh. So how are you? How's things?
Things are things. Things are busy. Spring is busy. I mean, fall's busy, spring's busy, summer's busy. Everything's busy all the time. But
There's no not busy anymore. I'm having to come to terms with this.
I know, but this particular little chunk of spring from the last couple of months of school, there's all kinds of, performances and projects and, meetings for new things for next year and sign up lists and, end of school parties and field day. And then, of course, on top of that, life as a 24/7 baseball mom. So, it's busy. Not as busy as Trump's been, but busy.
Yeah, not as busy as Trump's been, but yeah. So did you hear about this one today? This one honestly even surprised me. So apparently during a cabinet meeting today, it was discovered between the Secretary of Labor and Doge that they have found $400 million in unemployment insurance fraud.
Whew. No, but that doesn't surprise me.
I mean, the thing that's starting to surprise me is it, and I don't know why, but the fact that it's being discovered pretty much everywhere in every aspect of our government, and then we wonder why our money's worthless.
Well, this is the thing. Something my husband and I were talking about last night is that we've enjoyed what they're doing. I think it's a good thing. It's something that should have been done a long time ago. And it's definitely something that is kind of it's because of the Elon of it all, and of course Trump. It's it's become too political. But really, like this, basically, what it should have just been approached as is that okay, we're just going to audit every single department and every single agency, which is what they're doing. But it kind of went about it in a very, Elon and his tech bros are coming in and they're going to clean it up, which put off a lot of people. And I get it. I don't care, but I get it. But that it really, if it was just like, no, seriously, you have the things that we require regular, not just businesses, not just corporations, but the average citizen to do, which is to audit themselves every single year by law. They have to audit themselves essentially every single year. That and you require that as the federal government. You enforce it via the IRS and via threats of jail and fines. And yet nothing has been audited here on any really, more than superficial level in decades and decades and decades. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to audit every single agency, department, office, whatever, and find out where to cut waste. And of course, you're going to discover fraud. Of course, you're going to. So, I mean, essentially, those just like not surprising because it's literally never been audited. They've just been rolling over whatever was already in place. They've, we already put that in the budget, so keep it there. Oh, those people don't even work here anymore. In fact, we eliminated that department 3 years ago. Well, whatever, just put it over there next to the other things that get piled up in the utility closet of stuff that no one uses anymore, like the old computers that are now defunct. It just keeps getting rolled over, and you can see how bureaucracy bloats and bloats and bloats, and there's no one really to fix it. And everyone's like, well, it's not my problem. That's someone else's job. Well, whose job is it? Nobody freaking knows. So you end up with this behemoth that, never gets checked. So I'm glad that we're getting to see some of this transparency. And I know that liberals have been freaking out about this. The Democrats, have been freaking out about the who of it and the why and the administration that's putting this in place. But I think eventually I've already seen some people just even on my own like Facebook feed that are very very, very Democrat that are posting some links going, wow, what is this? Like, why were we wasting 23 million there? That's ridiculous. They're starting to see the effects of it now that the big, ooh, Elon's going to come in with his young guys and make everything happen. Now that that's kind of out of the way a little bit and not as sensationalized, you're starting to see the reports come out where people are looking at real numbers and going, holy shit, where has our money gone?
Oh, it's insane.
It is. It's beyond. And then you just think about all those years. But what has always really bothered me is like, okay, so you can do all of this be completely unaccountable, and not have to really even, everyone's like, oh no, I mean, I have to turn in receipts. Yeah, we're not talking about those kinds of receipts. We're talking about the entire Department of Education not having to give receipts. We're not talking about that you, as the guy that threw the luncheon, having to turn in receipts for the banquet that you hosted. Yes, of course you did. But we're talking about overall each department going pretty much unchecked. And it's something they would never allow you to do. Particularly not if it's a whole department, particularly not an entire business. You can't just be like, we're not filing this year.
Yeah, we're just not going to do it. I mean, honestly, I thought about getting an extension just to see if they ever finally did just completely get rid of the IRS, but I know it's not going to happen. So I'm just going to file my damn tax.
But it's not only like just like, oh, we're not going to do it. It's also saying like, I'm not going to do it because I don't even really know where to begin. And I don't really know who all I should talk to get all the stuff that I need to do to turn into you anyway. So like, I mean, I guess there's some stuff in a bank over here and there's a couple W-2s over here and maybe some W-9s out there. And like, I don't know where it all is. So like, or 1099s, but it's like, I don't know where it all is. And it's kind of hard for me to have to like get together. And I don't really like, I don't know. It's kind of weird to have to add up the shit in Venmo. And then I don't know if like the tax document is actually accurate that my bank sent me. And I have another account that I don't really touch, but am I supposed to include that? I don't know. You know what? It's such a hassle. I'm just not going to do it because it's whatever. Like, it's fine. You probably owe me money anyway. So like, I'm just not going to worry about it. That's what it's essentially been like.
Oh.
It's not just been like, we're not going to do it. It's been like, well, it's kind of too difficult. No one knows who's in charge or where to start with it. There's no real oversight. So fuck it. And also, by the way, please keep giving us money. And so me as a private citizen, I've just decided I don't want to do all that. It's kind of a hassle and I don't really know to go where all of it, with all of it. And like, I'm not a tax specialist. So if you could just send me $5,000, that'd be great. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing my job. I'm doing my part as a citizen. So just send me money. That's what these bureaucracies have been doing all these years.
Dude, it's just nuts. I mean, if you start adding this stuff up, we're literally talking about just in the stuff they've uncovered in the last we're a little over 80 days in now. We're talking about $1 trillion worth of money that everybody's just like, yeah, we don't even really know where it went. We just, I mean, they're talking about people. Like, one of the things that drove me nuts about this story today is reading through some of the things that they found. There were people that were being approved for unemployment benefits that had information listed in the forms like a birth date that hadn't even technically happened yet.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, are you kidding me?
So
So
that's
we
some
just
sort of like autofill bot thing that was just
we just rubber stamp these things. Nobody says, hey, it's kind of hard for somebody to be born in the year 2155 and be collecting unemployment in 2019.
yeah, and that's crazy too, because I even
Unless I'm
know I don't even know, like, that tells me that there's such an antiquated process there still, because even like when I was helping do employment, unemployment records and things for the company I worked for, which was fairly mom and pop, but there are multiple businesses. Um, our software, our programming, in order to be able to do some of the bookkeeping and everything, wouldn't allow me. Like, I could do a typo for like someone that would be 10 years old, and it'd be like, because that is an invalid birth date for a legal worker. Like, I can't put that in. So that tells me that there's not even like checks on their software systems if they're able to enter those numbers in
Which
order to
seems
get a
really
check
weird.
back.
I mean, you would think, I mean, and I get it, but I mean, as soon as I found out that our federal government is still using COBOL and has like 80 some odd different separate IT supervisors and everything else, I'm just like, yeah, the system is broken. I shouldn't have been surprised, because I did work for state of Oklahoma through a contract for a while, and they're still using DOS. So I guess I really shouldn't have been that surprised.
Oh no.
Yeah, they're still
Oh,
using like actual physical mainframes with like patches and DOS and
oh wow.
overlays on top of patches. Yeah, it's terrifying. And then every year they're like, "Oh, we're finally gonna get an update," and then they put it out for bids, and they're like, "Yeah, no, we're not doing
Well, and
that."
unemployment fraud is interesting because there's a lot of it that's kind of like overstaying visas. It just never really gets corrected, so the people don't tell them. I know that another thing with the same company, I'm having to keep up with all of that. And so we have someone that filed unemployment, got it for whatever reason, because they almost always side with the ex-employee, no matter how much documentation you bring. I'm like, they were fired for cause for being drunk on the job 3 times, but sure, they have a valid unemployment claim. Okay. Um, like, just ridiculous stuff. It's bleeding heart shit. But um after a certain point, some of them get it for a certain number of days, and it depends on your state. And so some of them get it for like 90 days, and then they can file for an extension. Some of them only get 30 days or 60 days. There's different time periods and stipulations, and the industry matters and all of that. So there, sometimes though, I would get a notice that like this person is still getting this unemployment, and I'm like, that person was gone 6 months ago. They should not still be getting unemployment. They only worked for us for X amount of time, and that in Texas that factors into how long you get unemployment, right? Like, how long you work there. And it'd call up there and it'd be like, oh yeah, it was just kind of like on auto renew, basically. So that person was still getting checks knowing they're not supposed to. So that's the fraud. It's not really like, oh, they went around the system and lied and did something. It's like the system just didn't update what it should have updated, and it kept sending checks. Like, I just imagine that on a grand scale. Like, if I was catching that ever so often with only like, working with the payroll for around 60 to 90 employees at any given time, then for sure, with millions, with tens of thousands of employees at the federal government, that's happening on a much higher rate.
Oh, I don't know. All of it's just kind of melting my brain the more I'm starting to just try to figure all this out. So this is another interesting thing regarding Doge that happened today. This is from Sister Tolja. So apparently the Doge has done something now on 2 separate occasions that has pissed off the Internal Revenue Service, because the acting director of that group is resigning. But so just to kind of go over this real quick, The Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, has, of course, been a major player in a lot of the issues going on with the IRS, to the extent of their involvement has been the basis for a number of lawsuits against the Trump administration. But they are working and they are working their way through the court system. But while a lot of the media focus on DOGE has been related to their cost cutting, fraud uncovering, and workforce slim downs, its work streamlining processes and making things in general run more smoothly deserve big mentions as well. Among them are recent actions taken to rework the IRS website. Anyone who has had to use it, oh my God, and it's been terrible. I haven't messed with it since apparently they've reworked it, so I'm gonna have to go look. In the past, knows that finding the login button could be a drag, with the government inexplicably placing it in the middle of the homepage. So apparently not anymore. Recently, DOGE worked with an IRS engineer to move it to where it belonged after originally being told it would take over 3 months to do so.
What?
Yeah, I was just like, so it takes 3. So, but this is part of what I'm talking about with the government contracts and everything else. And this is why costs for everything go crazy when the government gets involved, because you go to somebody and up until now it's been, oh yeah, we can do that for you, but it's going to take us 3 months to get it done. And then they're billing you every single day for the 3 months it takes them to get it done. And then because everything that the Treasury just pays out is on an auto approve, doesn't even matter. That's like the guy that had a 90-day contract and the computer failed to terminate it. Dude was getting checks for 20 years, never told anybody, just kept cashing the fucking checks. Like, why didn't that happen to me? I would have loved to have gotten 20 years worth of checks for 90 days worth of work.
Yeah, I never had anything nice like that happen to me either. I had a girl work one time, and the payroll company that, we send off to payroll and payroll sends out, and she worked one shift, and so her hourly pay plus the tip out, that was via the final payment from the client, was like $200, $204 was what it was. And she got a check for $2,004, and man, she cashed that baby as fast as she could, and she never came back.
Well, I mean,
and it's literally, and I mean, that's part of why you have payroll insurance and stuff, but it was basically like tough titty. Like, she's not technically the one committing fraud because the check was, approved through our payroll company to give to her.
And that's exactly the problem that you were going to run into with the dude that was cashing checks for 20 years. Since they were being approved through Treasury, there was probably absolutely nothing that could be done because
it's more of a moral violation as opposed to a legal violation. You can still take them to court, we were told, but like what you're going to pay for small claims court anyways, and that's what now the IRS guy's a little bit different, but what you're going to pay anyways was just not going to matter. It's like, okay, take a hit on your insurance and just be done with it. But I will tell you, like, even when COVID hit and South by Southwest went down, like I think this is part of what happens with these things. Is like it's so far out of sight, out of mind, like you were talking about with the contracts, where it's like 3 months later. It's like they've already figured that they've written that off, that it just goes out of sight, out of mind. Like, we had one of our main clients was supposed to be Facebook, and they'd already given us, hundreds of thousands of dollars in deposit. And so when South by got called off because of COVID, we were like, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to just refund you right now? And they're like, no, hold on to it because we're back next year as soon as like this whole virus is passed, blah, 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 blah. Well, then the next year rolls around and they're still not doing it. They held some events, but it wasn't really anything. But the, because 2021, most things were still pretty closed on a grand scale. Some stuff was back open, but the big things weren't. And also Facebook had made this announcement that until there were no more cases of COVID, that they would not be doing any in office or in-person events, whatever. Okay. Until they figured out, wait, it's never going away. But that was this grand announcement they made in fall of 2020. So again, we reach out and we're like, so what do you want to do? And the girl's like, I'm sorry, I wasn't even here when that happened. I don't know. Let me call you back. So 2021 rolls around, and we've now had their money since 2019. 2021 rolls around, and South by's not, like, they're obviously not having an event with us at South by. So I, again, try to reach out. Like, we're trying to do the right thing here. It is a deposit, so we would get to keep a portion of it, but not the entirety. And I call again, and they're like, yeah, no, that was written off in 2020. It is now halfway through 2021. Nah, there's not even any way for us to accept it. So none of us worked here at the time. See you later, alligator. Like, what?
Not our fault, man. Not our fault.
So I mean, thankfully, like, we didn't touch it all that time, but my boss was able to recoup some of what he lost out on because of COVID, because of that deposit from them, which I said was very, very sizable. But that's just kind of what happens, especially when it's such a big body. It's like, okay, well, that's kind of small cookies compared to everything else. So whatever. Yeah, just keep going. I don't care. Get rid of it. You know what I mean? They just kind of, it's hard to know. Whereas, like, if that happens to your bank account, the individual, we absolutely know and absolutely are like, this is absolutely life changing.
Yeah. So, well, the thing that pissed me off, right, is Monopoly did not prepare me for what actually happens when there's a bank error supposedly in your favor, because it's never actually in
Nope.
your favor.
Nope.
Because when they realize they made a mistake, if you've spent that money, they come after you.
Yes, they do. The federal government does. um, Also, your company will if they over bonused you, things like that. They can in some scenarios, but anyways, it's wild, wild, wild. And it makes you wonder, like, what would our debt be? Like, what would the national debt actually be had more of this been done over the past at least 50 years, but probably extending even beyond that? Because I
I
bet
mean,
we're
well,
in a
look at
much different place.
we would be in a much different place. I mean, if we had tackled the fact that we know that China and a few other, I mean, I'm not even talking about all of the people that we trade with. I think we've been kind of in an unfair trade situation with a lot of people, but some of them are worse than others. And I kind of wish we would have started by focusing on the worst actors instead of just saying, "Hey, we're going to hit everybody." But I
Yeah.
kind of understand why Trump is doing what he's doing, because he's trying to give people incentive to bring their stuff back here. But, we know that China has been ripping us off since at least the Clinton era. That's a long ass time ago. And we know it and it's not even that they were ripping us off. Our government was handing them shit. Be like, yeah, here you go. Just back channeling and giving them shit. Like the some of the missile technology just wound up over there, and it happened during the Clinton administration. They've had the plans for the F-35 for forever. And anytime and the thing that tripped me out, I didn't even know that I knew a lot of this, but I didn't know some of this until I was listening to Mr. Wonderful the other day when he was on like CNBC or whatever it was. And he's talking about, I do business in China. And as somebody who's not a Chinese citizen, if they steal some of my intellectual property, I can't even take them to court because I'm not a Chinese citizen. I have no standing in their court.
Yeah.
I'm like, that explains a lot. And I don't understand why we have been treating them with kid gloves for as long as we have. Because the other thing that nobody takes into account, because everybody's like, oh my God, it's gonna destroy trade with China if we keep putting all these tariffs on their stuff. And not really, because they figured out ways to get around most of that shit with things like Temu. So, I mean, things like Temu, they're making stuff for 5 and 10 cents a unit and then selling it to us for $5 and $6 a unit. So even if you put a 400% tariff on that, they're going from like 98% profit to, oh my God, only 90% profit. So I don't know how, I mean, I get it. They're struggling. I mean, I saw a story today that came out from a Chinese news source that even though these things are just starting to kick in, there are already businesses suffering in China and warehouses are starting to back up, and the yuan took a huge dip today. So, I mean, I don't know how long they're going to be able to hold out, but I just wish we would have taken care of all this stuff a long time ago, because we've known what a bad actor China has been and always has been, and we kept looking the other way. And the same thing's been going on in so many different places that now we have no choice but to try to fix it all at once. And if we had handled this over time instead of letting it get to the point where now we either fix it or we're not going to be here anymore, I don't think we would be having near the sticker shock we're having everywhere right now. Because the truth of it is, if we had tackled all this stuff, I mean, just looking at what we found just in the last few months, imagine $1 trillion happening at least in waste, fraud, and abuse for the last 50 years. And somehow we've still managed to only have a, what is it, like $36 trillion deficit right now?
Yeah.
So, I mean, technically, with as much as we know we've been wasting, we're in better shape than we should be. But if we had done the responsible thing instead of just, and I blame most of the Congress critters because half the Congress critters that knew we were doing this expected to be dead by now, and they're not. So now they're like, oh shit. Because I didn't think we were going to have to deal with this. I'm 87 years old. I was only supposed to live till I was 72. So they kept kicking the can down the road, thinking, by the time anybody has to deal with it, I'll be dead, and all they can do is curse my name anyway. And now everybody's like living much longer than they used to. So, I mean, I
Not
don't
only
know.
are they living, they're still serving in Congress.
That's the other
and in
thing,
the
dude.
office of the presidency.
I'm like, dude, I get, that, 50 is the new 40 and 40 is the new 30, blah, 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 blah. But at some point there's diminishing returns. And I'm talking about this even with Trump, because I've noticed now that he's 4 years older than he was the last time he left office, even I've noticed a few times when he gets even more rambly than he was before. So please, can this be the last time we put a geriatric in the White House? Please, please, please. I love the guy. I love the fact that the media is exploding over him every single day. And I love the fact that he trolls every single one of them. And I love the fact that dude has like full press conferences in his cabinet meetings. I don't remember the last time a president did that. I mean, dude had a cabinet meeting today and then just took questions for like 30 minutes after the cabinet meeting, just putting it all out there. We had cabinet members were answering questions. President was answering questions. I mean, the one thing the guy does is he does try to be as transparent as possible. But the problem is he also tries to explain things in human speak, and the media doesn't like that. When you speak to the media like a normal person, they look at you like you're retarded because they expect you to be, using proper grammar and half talking like an attorney because that's how politicians are. And Trump's just like, no, we're going to do this, this, and this, and this, and this is why we're going to do it. And then, 5 or 6 days later, he's like, yeah, no, let's do this instead. Everybody's like, oh my God, he flipped.
Or 5 minutes after that's over is the secretary he just explained his position to having to come in and clarify. No, what he meant was, which is happening all the time too, because he doesn't quite get the details right. And he gets very vague about things. So, yeah, and it's going to be very good. And I think it's going to be a good deal. And so we're going to do that. And it's going to help this. And it's going to blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, okay. And then later you've got, someone actually explaining the more meat of it because he kind of glossed over a bunch of things. It was like, it's going to be great, They're very bad people. They're very bad people.
So did you hear about this one? Apparently there's a new theory as to why the Wisconsin election went as well as it did for the Democrats.
Okay.
Apparently they told Kamilama Hamasnik to stay the fuck away.
I mean, by the way, what's she doing?
Dude, I don't know. The last time I saw anything from her, she seriously looked like she was drunk, stoned, or both. And
she
was
should
like,
be. Go live your life, girlfriend. You were the first female vice president. Go on.
I mean,
go somewhere over there away from politics.
I mean, that's the thing, though, right? She did manage to break a glass ceiling. It wasn't the one that they were hoping she was going to be able to break, but it was kind of a huge deal. She was the first female vice president.
Right.
Of course, she also either chose to she either chose to act as if she were, or she was in fact more stupid than the potted plant that was her boss in certain cases. But don't let that stop you from celebrating the fact
I'm just doing bright side here. I'm just doing all bright side, okay? And now you don't have to stress. You don't have to dye your hair as often. You don't have to get as much Botox. Like, you've made your millions. Go live your life. Go have some fun. Be drunk all the time. Travel Europe. Do whatever. Stay away from politics. Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Bye.
I mean, the good news is you did manage to break a glass ceiling, even if it was with your heels.
No. Oh, Rick. Oh, goodness.
You're welcome.
But yeah, I will have to say she went away a lot quicker than Obama or Hillary did. And Obama was actually president leaving office and he couldn't let go of it. But Hillary didn't go away so quickly after losing. So I do appreciate that. I appreciate that. So yeah, go get drunk, go get high. I don't care. Brunch it up.
Go home, oh wait, sorry.
Okay, but speaking of high, getting high, the state that everybody goes to get high, Colorado. Did you see what was signed
Which
today?
one? Well, today, wasn't that the one where they did, like, all kinds of weird shit with guns, or was that something else?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw
Yes.
it.
So this is their governor signed a law that bans the production and most sales of semi-automatic firearms with detachable magazines. So like they're kind of they're and the advocates are trying to imply it's like you don't need AR-15s anyways, but that's not what that means. That's basically all handguns. Detachable magazines is
Yeah, I mean, that
is most handguns. So first of all, of course, blatantly unconstitutional. And the thing is here is who wrote this? This is at Red State. Oh, it's Bonchi. Of course, it's Bonchi. He says here, that it's not even a question that gun control law runs afoul of Supreme Court precedent. That means that Poe signed something that he has to know is illegal, making this move all the more insidious. The stakes here could not be higher. If Colorado gets away with this, you can kiss the Second Amendment goodbye. If a state gets away with largely banning semi-automatic handguns, it can get away with banning any type of firearm. And this is the most radical gun control legislation ever to be signed. So, of course, like everybody better get up in arms real quick. So yeah, of course, a bunch of advocate groups have already started the process of saying they're going to file some challenges to this. But we really need this to get to the Supreme Court basically as quickly as possible. Because the thing is, and like he goes on to say here, let me find where he said this. Yeah. Every single Democrat-led state in the union will pass similar laws, and with the lack of reciprocity, half the country will essentially be a no-go zone for modern guns. And that's kind of the scary part. So then you can't like drive across the country with like I very often drive to Colorado, as y'all know, and several of those times I've gone from Texas or Colorado through Wyoming up to Montana, and that's a lot of road to travel and not be armed. And always when we're traveling, we look up the laws in each state. Of course, I take it when we go to Oklahoma, all of that, but you need either the reciprocity or know what the certain laws are in those states. Usually you can still have them in your car. You may not be able to conceal them in a glove box. It may need to be in a more visible area. There's different things. So you always check that when you're going. But, if they could get away with this and then it could spread like wildfire through the blue states, there could be huge parts of the country that like you just can't even do that with legally anyways. Of course, I know everybody's like, whatever, they won't know I have it. But legally, we should be able to do that. This is the United States of America. We have the Second Amendment. Like I should be able to have my handgun traveling with me in my car without worry.
Dude,
So it's really crazy.
I am even more of a Second Amendment absolutist. I should be able to fly to work in my Apache helicopter, and I should have access to a nuclear missile because it's the same thing the government has. Which is the entire point of the Second Amendment in the first place. But that's a discussion for another day. All right, so this one weirded me out because this story was scary enough, but now it's taken a weird turn. So I'm assuming that you know by now that there is a company that is a company called Colossal Biosciences, which is actually in your neck of the woods, if memory serves, that has used CRISPR technology, the DNA editing tool they have now, to basically technically resurrect the dire wolf, which died out like 13,000 years ago. So it's not an exact resurrection because what they did was they took wolf DNA and basically made the recessive traits that were in the code for that particular type of wolf more dominant, and they put them in, and they fertilized them and bred them and put them in surrogate mom dogs, and now there's apparently three of them, Romulus, Remus, and Khaleesi. But so this is where the story gets even weirder, because as if we haven't all seen these movies, and I'm still trying to figure out why everybody thinks that we need to die by every sci-fi movie known to man, possibly all at the same time, because we have the emergence of artificial intelligence, the emergence of robots, the emergence of self-driving cars, automated houses, and now we have genetic de-extinction. But here's the weirdest part of this story: where the funding came from. Apparently, a lot of the funding for this project came from a certain alphabet soup agency known as the CIA. And that has questions.
They need wolf soldiers.
I mean, I kind of get it. I'm thinking what happened is there was some, like, muckety muck high up in the CIA watching Game of Thrones. It was like, it would be so cool if we could send people to war riding on those fuckers while he's getting high, and he's like, we
I
should figure out.
mean, I'm not gonna. I mean, it would be. So we're like, hey, can you cure cancer? And they're like, no, we can clone sheep though. And we're like, can you please cure cancer? And they're like, how about a robot picks you up instead of an Uber driver? And we're like, okay, can you cure cancer? And they're like, we'll bring back direwolves. And we're like, okay.
Well, so here's the thing, right? And this is something that occurred to me after, because I didn't realize that CRISPR technology had become as mainstream as it is. But there's a new show on CBS, and it's on Paramount Plus too, called Watson. It's basically, life of Dr. Watson after Sherlock Holmes, and it's a modernization, of course. So Watson is at a clinic. In one of the episodes, they actually use CRISPR technology, even though it's technically not been cleared from the FDA to be used in this in that manner yet, to basically rewrite someone's genetic code to remove sickle cell disease. So technically speaking, as CRISPR becomes more and more prevalent and available, things like that could happen. I mean, we're talking about getting on the verge of like designer genetics at this point.
Yeah,
Which is kind of terrifying in that way, but at the same time, since we are starting to understand more about what causes cancer in the first place, because it's not now that we're starting to understand genetic codes, it's not what we thought it was. There's like actual cell damage that causes cancer. So if they can figure out specifically what that cell damage is, they can actually go in with CRISPR and make sure that healthy cells don't have that ability to basically recreate that damage, and eventually the damaged cells die off instead of spreading. So it's an interesting time to be alive, but it's also a terrifying time to be alive, because I'm waiting for the robots riding on dire wolves to come kill us all.
Robots riding on direwolves that are going to fight the Aryan army that's going to be genetically modified babies that will grow up to be the army that the newly resurrected Hitler will then direct. We're gonna need the direwolves for that.
See, that's more of what I'm worried about, is what other crazy shit are we going to start doing now that we're doing these kind of things?
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, if we're gonna have that, we need direwolves. I'm on it. I'm on board. There was also something else that they were bringing back at some point, or they found enough preserved DNA that they thought that they could maybe clone it to bring it. It was another like
woolly mammoth.
It was a mastodon or something. Yeah.
Woolly mammoth. Yeah, they're still working on that too. Same company, actually. They just decided to do this one first because it was easier.
Wild. The second that they're like, okay, cool, and we're gonna have this amusement park and we're gonna have dinosaurs, but don't worry, they're gonna be in cages. But everybody come, I'm out.
Yep, nope. I'll be like, hey, Elon, when's the next?
I really want to see them, but I cannot.
Hey, Elon, when's the next flight to Mars, bro? I'm out.
I saw all 6 of those movies. Okay.
But that's just it. I mean, we're talking about the potential emergence of Skynet, killer dinosaurs, wolves that were, apex predators when they were alive the first time, with none of the things that were able to kill them still in existence now, other than potentially us. And I'm sorry. I mean, we talk about this all the time. species that weren't native to an area being introduced to it and suddenly just overwhelming everything because there's nothing that can combat them. We talk about it. We talk about it all the time on shows like the boa constrictors and the alligators that have taken over everywhere because they weren't originally there and there's no predators to basically take them out. And now people are, dude, I'm telling you, those dire wolves get out, we're fucked. I'm telling you, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad.
Well, the dire wolves are bad, but you know what the state of California thinks are really bad? Roosters. Roosters are bad, okay? So they, oh my gosh. So they are pushing a law that would limit the number of roosters that you could have on a property. And the argument is that this is to crack down on cockfighting. But it's weird because, like, there's only ever been 12 prosecuted cases of cockfighting. So what is this big danger that they have in these like, of course, like different cultures, there are some things like that here or there, but like, what is this massive problem that we need to enact this bill? And it's like, it's kind of crazy because it would prohibit people from keeping more than 3 roosters per acre or more than 25 roosters total on a property. And that's going to include some people that it's going to include some farmers and ranchers. They're going to get in trouble with this. And so if they have more than the allowed number of roosters, it could be subject up to $2,500 per day per chicken. And then the other thing they've come up with when people are like, okay, but like cockfighting is really not that big of a problem. And like, we don't even really prosecute very many cases. Then they're like, oh yeah. But also like bird flu, right? They had to have something else. So like, yeah, but bird flu. So like, this will help with bird flu. And they're like, not having as many roosters is going to help with bird flu. They can't explain why that is. But, California, they don't need to make sense. They just make rules, right? They just make rules. They like making lots and lots of rules because you cannot live your life there on your own. They must think for you. So then it's the other thing is that critics are saying like it unfairly targets it disproportionately affects like Hispanic communities because they breed game fowl, have cultural, celebrations and exhibits. They have poultry shows, and this is not cockfighting. These are actual shows with chickens. I don't know. We have a really fun thing here in Austin called Chicken Chip Bingo. It is at a bar that is what they do all the time. It's hilarious. But this whole idea is that cockfighting is a multifaceted threat with links to other problems like violence, drugs, and organized crime. And they say it persists throughout the states. And everybody's going, but where? But where? Where are all these cockfighting raids that lead to organized crime and drug rings and violence and human trafficking? They can't give a single example, but it must be banned.
I mean, I guess I'm really confused as to why you're so surprised that California is cock blocking.
I mean, I just started reading this, like Jeff Charles wrote this article about it, and I started reading. The more I was reading, the more I was cracking up about how the over explanation by California being like, but we must have the rules because nobody gets to do things without my rules. Like, it's like this will not only protect birds, it also helps address the public health risk presented by smuggled birds that have the potential to spread diseases like avian flu to legitimate poultry operations. Oh, but also like drugs, violence, and guns and stuff. I mean, it just seems like they just kept making shit up to be like, it happens in California with alarming regularity. And everyone's like, what is that regularity? And they're like, well, public records and court dockets show that prosecutions, there have been 12 arrests statewide. 12 arrests. That is 12. Alarming regularity of cockfighting rings that are the gateway to organized crime. So, anyways, there's a fun.
I'm just glad you put the word fighting between those other two words. Otherwise, yeah.
Anyways, I was just reading about it and going, oh my gosh, of course. And they're like ridiculously adamant because duh. Anyways, and I wanted to say cockfight. So that's fun. It's just like when I
Oh,
anything with that, it's fun when you can say it legitimately. You're not like, you don't have to be censored. Like the other day, spatchcocked a chicken, It's fun to spatchcock.
dude, I had no idea what that was, and then I watched the video, and I was like, I still don't really know why it's called that, but whatever.
I don't know. I don't care, but I'm like, hey, spatchcock. Ask Stacy. I told her about spatchcocking. Now she spatchcocks all the time. And then she always tells me, hey, I spatchcocked today. You know what I did today? Spatched a cock.
Giggity giggity. Giggity goo. Had to be done.
I know. It's just so fun. Anyways, thought that was fun. Thought you'd find that interesting about our California nanny state saying no more roosters sleeping in the coop.
Oh man. As if the news cycle hasn't been weird enough.
I know. There was something else. Why was there something else today? Okay. No, I can't. I thought I had it in my bookmarks, but I don't.
So, all these tell-all books, right? All these things that have come out since the election, now that it's, it's fine to finally tell the truth after they couldn't do anything to prop up the potted plant anymore. So apparently there's a new book that's coming out that details Nancy Pelosi's role in getting rid of Biden, and it's even worse than we thought, apparently. I'm still kind of reading through it, but apparently a new book claims that Rep. Nancy Pelosi, Democrat California, privately said President Biden had lost a step ahead of his decision to drop out of the 2024 presidential campaign. Dude hadn't lost a step, he lost a foot. Anyway, sorry. Before she publicly bashed a Wall Street Journal story on his cognitive decline. So according to Whipple's book, Pelosi went to the White House in May 2024 for an award ceremony and was startled by how much the president had aged. He was not the same Joe Biden, Pelosi told a friend privately, according to the book. Pelosi was at the White House to accept the Presidential Medal of Freedom, but the day was awkward and even painful for her as she worried Democrats would suffer on Election Day, according to the book. She couldn't shake the realization that Joe Biden was a shadow of himself. Fucking bitch.
Yeah, and I think there's just going to be more and more of that. We're still pretty fresh off, so I think there's still a lot of people kind of keeping it close, but think about what it's even going to be after he passes. I mean, after that, there's going to be, 10 years down the road, especially, I think there's going to be a ton of people with a lot of examples, probably even videos, written messages, things like that of his absolute decline and confusion towards the end there. And that's just sad to me. I don't have warm feelings about the person Biden was with his brain intact. But much like people with dementia and Alzheimer's, I can realize that they're in a different place now, and that is a whole different beast, and they are not the same person, and they're elderly and declined and diminished, and he never should have been put in that position. And I feel sad that that was unfortunately how that all went, and I still feel like it was abusive. Even though I don't like the guy one little bit, and I think he's actually a terrible human being, but it was still abusive.
Yeah, I will say this. Joe Biden is probably the asshole of assholes when it comes to the life that he's led, because the thing that pisses me off is he gets a total pass for everything that he did when he was younger. Like, even trying to, stop people of color from being bussed into his kids' schools because he didn't want his kids going to school in an urban jungle. And just because, he's got a D behind his name is like, oh yeah, well, obviously he changed his mind. No, he didn't. You heard the way he talked to fucking, you heard the way he talked to Kamala Harris, and you heard the way Kamala Harris talked about him. That's why Lady McBiden never could stand her. This was a party. This was a party decision to make her the vice president. Just like in Trump's first term, he got stuck with fucking Cotton Hill because that's what the party wanted, because it made him seem more stable, and because they were hoping that they could get him out and put him in place instead. And it's just I don't know. All of it annoys me because he is an asshole. He's a liar. He's lied his entire life. He had to
Well,
drop out
the
first election.
unforgivable, yes, because of plagiarism. The unforgivable thing to me is that he goes through this horrific tragedy with the death of his wife and daughter, and then he proceeds to grandstand on national television and demean the family of the other car that was involved, call him a drunk repeatedly over decades, to the point of where this man never recovered. His daughter said he was on the brink of suicide on a regular basis, like he could barely function. He felt all of this guilt. He was hounded by people everywhere he went. Some of them changed their names. They changed their names because of this. And Biden fucking campaigned off it. He profited off it. He elevated his status by stepping on his back and the graves of his family. I mean, there is nothing more fucking disgusting than that. And that is absolutely unforgivable. And by the way, it turns out that tragically, his wife was in the wrong in the accident, as far as they can tell. And also, the man was not drunk. The officers reported the scene. He rendered aid immediately. Nobody suspected him of being anything other than in shock. And so, this whole drink is lunch thing that persisted for decades and decades and decades. And really, right until it was finally cleared up, he issued a statement to the daughter of the man who has since passed, finally kind of exonerating them as if it was his to do. Like, it's just that entire thing. Everything else political, fuck him, hate it. But that, to me, that is on such a deep human level of depravity that I can't even comprehend.
Yeah, it's just, don't get me wrong. I don't like what happened to the man, but I also remember that he told everybody when he won the nomination in 2020, or when they orchestrated him winning the nomination in 2020, that he was going to be a one-term president and be transitional. And if he had done that, we might not be where we are today, but he didn't, thank God. Anyway, believe it or not, we are just about out of time. Any final thoughts?
Oh, not a whole lot. Just gonna keep an eye on all of this. Are we or aren't we with the tariffs? And see how everything plays out. See if the market stabilizes. I think it is. I agree with you. The transparency is good. I think there's sometimes a little too much of it, and not because of transparency, because of just talky talk. There's a lot of talky talk that doesn't matter, but I'll take it. It's fine. And then I'm just waiting to see kind of how some of this is going to shape out, because I think there's a lot of freaking out on both sides, for and against, and we'll just kind of have to wait and see how this is going to go. I don't like it on its face, the way it was done, but that is very often my stance with anybody in government and the decisions they make. So this is nothing new.
I said what I said, Amish. You call him what you want. I'll call him what I want. He's yelling at me for not saying Race Bannon instead of Cotton Hill when I was talking about Mike Pence.
Mike Pence.
All right, where can folks find you?
At Jay Homestead, mostly on X, other platforms as well, at Misfits Politics, and tomorrow night will be Misfit Mischief, so come join for some fun while you listen to KLRN.
Two screen night. You can do it. Listen on one device and play Misfits stuff on the other. It'll work. All right. So as far as me, I'll be hanging out with BZ in the saloon, running the board over here so we can simulcast it. So I'll be working till about midnight or so. Then I'll be back tomorrow afternoon doing the Rick Robinson show from noon to 3, hanging out with Aggie Regan starting at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Then we'll be hanging out Saturday night first, pushing the buttons for the Front Porch Forensics crew, and then going into Juxtaposition. That kicks off at 8 p.m. Eastern and runs for about 4 hours total, so usually about 8 to midnight Eastern. Sunday, I am off. Monday night, back with producing for the Ladies of the Red Wine, and then America Off the Rails. There will probably be a break in there because I don't know if I'm going to be doing 2.5 hours worth of content to keep everything running fluid before Sean kicks off. But there will be an America Off the Rails. I do know that much. And then everything starts over again on Tuesday. So Rick Robinson Show Tuesday through Friday, Manorama, 10 p.m. Eastern. And of course, before that, make sure you're hanging out for the Cocktail Lounge. On that note, folks, we have got to go because suddenly my voice has decided it's nearly done for some reason anyway. Probably because I talked for like 12 hours yesterday. Bet that probably has something to do with it.
Maybe.
One of these days, I'm going to figure out, Anyway, I only do it because I love it. So don't listen to me bitch about it because I wouldn't have it any other way. All right, hang out for BZ. He's up next. There will be a changeover though because it makes my life easier with all the behind the scenes editing. So just hang out on the X feed. It'll pop back up in a minute. Bye, everybody.
Later.
I love how he always says "Great show, Jen." Like I'm not even here. Alien bastard. All right. Bye, everybody.